Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending by focusing on reactions to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's review of the list of beneficiaries under the federal government's prerogative of mercy. The president on Wednesday ordered the removal of persons convicted for kidnapping, drug trafficking, human trafficking, fraud, and unlawful possession of firearms from the list, sparking renewed controversy. Presidential spokesman Bayo Ononuga stated that the president took the decision following consultations with the Council of State and Public Opinion on the matter, further stating that the action became necessary in view of the seriousness and security implications of some of the offenses, the need to be sensitive to the feelings of the victims of the crimes and society in general, the need to boost the morale of law enforcement agencies and adherence to bilateral obligations. Well, Miriam Sanda, who was sentenced to death for killing her husband, Biliaminu Bello, during a domestic altercation in 2017, was among those pardoned, whose pardon was revoked. Miriam had already spent 6 years and 8 months at Suleja Medium Security Custodial Center awaiting execution before her name was controversially included in the list of 175 persons granted pardon on October 9th, sparking widespread outrage. Her sentence has now been commuted to 12 years in prison. The final presidential pardon list now contains 15 names. Ayo, this revision, many have said it demonstrates the government's responsiveness to, public sentiment, acknowledging that while presidential pardons are constitutional prerogatives, they must balance mercy with justice, victim consideration, and societal security concerns. The decision to exclude serious crimes like kidnapping and trafficking shows recognition that certain offenses carry implications beyond rehabilitation. And I will take some reactions before I come to you. Ahmad wrote on X, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has once again showed that the renewed hope agenda is anchored on integrity, fairness, and the rule of law. By removing Miriam Sanda and others convicted of serious crimes from the presidential pardon list, the president has made it clear that justice cannot be compromised and that mercy must never override morality. This decisive action restores public confidence in governance and sends a strong message: no one, regardless of status or connection, will escape the consequences of their action under this administration. President Tinubu continues to prove that, Nigeria is being rebuilt on truth, justice, and accountability. Well, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar criticized Tinubu's reversal of the presidential pardon list, describing it as an act of shame, not wisdom. Well, in a statement on Wednesday by his aide, Frank Shaibu, Atiku accused the administration of lacking foresight and moral consistency. And I'll read Frank Shaibu's statement in part. He wrote, once again, Nigerians have witnessed a government that doesn't lead, it reacts. President Bola Tinubu has cancelled his own pardon for drug traffickers, kidnappers, and other hardened criminals, but only after Nigerians shouted loud enough to wake him from his moral slumber. Let's be clear. This U-turn is not an act of wisdom. It's an act of shame. If the public had kept quiet, would convicted drug lords and kidnappers be walking free today under the president's blessing? Who thought it was a brilliant idea to reward crime and betray justice? Who signed off on such national embarrassment? These are the questions every Nigerian deserves answers to. Who compiled the list of beneficiaries? What criteria justified killing or freeing kidnappers and drug offenders? Where was the Attorney General when the absurdity was cooked up? And why does this government only discover its conscience after Nigerians express outrage? This pattern has become too familiar. Announce the unthinkable, watch the country erupt, then hurriedly reverse course as if governance is a game of trial and error. And, Frank Shaibu, is quite vocal. And, those questions that he asks is in the mouth of every Nigerian at this moment.
Yes, some people have posted the argument that it shows that government listen. The opposition said it shows shame, not wisdom. The question we should ask, those people that have first supported the pardon by the president, can you see how funny you look today in your arguments? Because we said these things. Look at the case of Miriam Sanda and the killing. A lot of people argue that Miriam Sanda was on that list, but a man that attacked a bandit back in return in self-defense was not put on that list. Probably, I think his name is Sunday Jackson, if my memory serves me right. So when you look at it, you look at how skewed it was. You can see the end to all the funny press conferences that were held. And the father of the boy that was killed was saying, we forgive you and let it go. Thank God the blood of that man that was killed spoke. And a lot of Nigerians came up to speak. Because we won't allow this to continue in our country. I'm also happy that the president has made some reforms, that this review committee of pardons will now sit in the office of the AGF. But I think we should expand the scope of this. Let's also bring people, ordinary people, people from different, interest groups in the country to be part of this process. But most importantly this morning, those that perpetrated this heinous crime against Nigeria, those that made this government look like a joke, because correct me if I'm wrong, a pardon reversal is a shocking one for Nigeria.
A number of people have debated that.
So those that made this government look like a joke, those that padded the pardon list, we must see their names and we must see sanctions meted out. If we don't have accountability, we can't build a society. The problem with Nigeria is we're trying to build a society without accountability. It will not work. Like somebody will say, if he didn't day, he didn't day. If accountability no day, Nigeria cannot day. So please, Attorney General, we'd like to see the names of those people. And people involved in that committee, heads must roll.
Right, Dr. Bate, a few seconds. Now, Miriam Sanda's sentence has been commuted to 12 years. I mean, the question Shaibu asked was, where was the Attorney General when this list was drafted? I believe that it's now been handed over to him for, proper review at this point. But what about the whole controversy surrounding even her family coming out, saying that they were the ones who appealed for her prerogative of mercy?
Well, you see, the Attorney General of the Federation had tried to do damage control. When, after the list was announced and there was the outrage, he said, they will do due diligence, which came after the fact. The point we're making is that there was no due diligence. And this is not the first time this is happening. This is an administration that will give appointments to a dead person. Only after the appointment has been announced, they will suddenly discover that the person had died.
Yes.
And then they will quickly change it, they will apologize. It's just for people to be more diligent, to pay more attention to details. In the case of Miriam Sanda, she has already spent about 6 years. After the public outcry, they are now commuted the sentence, I think 86 persons on that list, to 12 years. So which means that effectively she will need to spend 6 more years. Now, Deji Adeyanju, I cited his example earlier, had gone on X to commend the administration for listening to the public. So as to the point about listening to the public, there are still some people who are saying that, absolutely, no, the government has not listened to the people. And Deji Adeyanju wrote that he has withdrawn his praise for the government because they have still committed the same offense. However, what we're saying is that the Attorney General of the Federation, we're now told that the committee, the Secretariat of the Committee for the Prerogative of Mercy, will be moved to the Federal Ministry of Justice. But the same Attorney General of the Federation, who is the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, was the chairman of the committee. So his office, the same office that could not vet the list.
These are the questions.
Is the place where the Secretariat will now go to show that the government is determined to ensure due diligence.
All right.
And not this kind of sloppiness or shoddiness that is embarrassing to the government. All the members of the committee should be sacked and new persons should be appointed.
Right.
And every effort should be made after now to make sure that we don't have this kind of embarrassment. You know, either with announcement of appointments or the announcement of pardon for murderers, and the hard drug traffickers, kidnappers, they have been removed. Wasn't it obvious enough that they should not pardon drug traffickers
I mean, I've never heard anything like
and
this
kidnappers and people who stole government military hardware? And then there's the unresolved issue of Herbert Macaulay, whose family protested and said their father should not be listed alongside convicted criminals.
Yes.
And in any case, it was under the colonial era before independence that whatever matter he had with the colonial, and he was a nationalist, not a common criminal. Maybe government will still look at that and change the list again.
Well, I hope they are listening. Yeah? They've shown that they are listening, so I hope they will listen at this point. Well, let's now turn to the dramatic tension that occurred on Tuesday as two former deputy governors of Edo State, Philip Shaibu and Omobayo Godwins, clashed over who should represent the state at the former Deputy Governors Forum during its 4th annual national conference. The situation became tense when Omobayo was introduced as the state's former deputy governor at the event, prompting Shaibu to publicly object. Shaibu insisted that the introduction was improper, stating that Omobayo was never elected but brought in through the back door. Well, in response, Omobayo described the clash as almost a national disgrace, adding that he never made himself deputy governor. Well, let's listen to what they both had to say after the event.
He was never a former deputy governor of Edo State. He was never elected, though he was brought in from the back door, and the court had to rule on it that he never existed. I think for 3 months that he never existed. And there was a declarative judgment by the in Court 8, Federal High Court here, Court 8, Justice Omotosho. And the underlying word is that the office of the deputy governor was never vacant. And that means he never existed as deputy governor. I gave condition for withdrawing the case against him. And the condition was, stop parading yourself as former deputy governor.
I never made myself deputy governor. That should be in proper perspective. And if not for what happened, because it almost seemed like a national disgrace, I would have left it at that. Because, like I said, I never made myself deputy governor. Even if it's for 1 second, I can even give you my pay slip. I was there from April to November. And in fact, the new APC government that came in paid me my November salary. It's there. I can print my account statement for you. So I don't know what must have led to all of that. But it's a sad reality that he must have to live with. He's my elder brother. We are from the same constituency. We don't have to disgrace ourselves. He's my senior brother. I know that about it. And it's somebody I respect. I owe a high esteem. If not for the open national disgrace, I would have. I've always tried to dodge this, but I give him his respect as my elder brother. But come on, this is not right.
We don't have to disgrace ourselves. A producer was asking, what's the benefit of this deputy governor? But we know that Philip Shaibu was impeached as Edo deputy governor in April 2024 and replaced by Omobayo Godwins, but a court later ruled the impeachment unlawful and reinstated him. However, Shaibu was not physically reinstated, and Omobayo completed the tenure with former Governor Obaseki. This public confrontation exposes the unresolved legal and political complications surrounding Edo's deputy governorship succession, with both men claiming legitimacy based on competing court rulings and political realities. Rufai on fire.
So I think, in all fairness, Shaibu got a court injunction nullifying what happened. So what happened was, you remember when Obaseki and Dr. Batsi, life no good though. Because now you're saying, where's Obaseki? Like, where is he? Where's Governor Obaseki?
I'm sure he's in Edo State.
No, in Nigeria. It's not in Nigeria.
I don't know.
I don't know where. He's resting where?
It's on a break.
Okay,
you should come back.
No,
I mean, I've just missed him.
Okay.
He's my very good friend. I've just missed him. You should come back to Nigeria. We need to. So that when that squabble was happening, and he removed him as deputy governor and he put in Omobayo. But truly, Shaibu did go to court and he got a court ruling. And the court ruling was that that process never existed. So in the face of the law, Omobayo doesn't exist as deputy governor. But the curious part is that Okpebolo's government is still paying Omobayo his dues and everything. You see, these are part of the inefficiencies of this Okpebolo government. Is it that they didn't even see, as we speak, the court ruling? Is it that they didn't even follow the story? You know, even if Omobayo's claim is true, it's even more painful that the same Shaibu that campaigned and stood with Okpebolo, you're not still paying the same people that worked against Shaibu. No, this is Madu. Man kill man. No. Okpebolo Shaibu was supposed to be your
I had a few questions.
ally.
Oh, your questions.
But the truth is, please, Shaibu should be recognized as deputy governor.
All right.
Yes.
Oh,
Based on this, there's no rule of law versus political reality. It's the rule of law, end and simple.
Yes, now.
If the court has ruled, then like he said, who appointed him? He was not. It doesn't exist. And so I have some questions this morning, because remember that when this happened, we had asked that, is he going to refund the salaries that were paid to him in the 4 months or however number of months that he was deputy governor, now not recognized by law? Number two is that, is he getting any form of compensation post? You know how we talk about this governor and deputy governor allowances after their time in office? I hope Edo State money is not going to pay him, because if he was not, if he has not been recognized by the court, he's not recognized. If Governor Obaseki wants to pay him out of pocket, that is his prerogative. But in the face of the law, according to the law, in respect of the rule of law, he was not recognized. And then finally, I just want to make the point that it is important that we also understand, how did he get an invitation to this former deputy governor?
I can see a smirk on Dr. Abati's face.
You know, while the rule of law is important, but in this kind of situation, you know also that you can be in a position de facto. So you can say you were there in that position, whether by right or not. And then you can have the right, the entitlement to be there by law. Then you are de jure. So this is a de facto, de jure, deputy governors fighting each other. And this is the kind of mess that politicians create as a result of, prioritizing their ego far and above the interest of the people. This is what we are seeing in this particular case. However, the bigger question is this thing they call a forum of deputy governors that is holding annual conferences. This is their 4th annual conference. Is it a creation of law, or is it just a talking shop? Of what value is former deputy governors coming together? Because I don't know of any substantial thing that either came out of this conference or previous conferences that they had. You have former ministers' annual conference, former deputy governors' annual conference. Now, people should, once you leave office, go and find work to do. Instead of creating an ideal assembly of jobless people, looking for titles, former deputy governor, former minister.
And that day I was in the newsroom. Guess what? Everyone was carrying it live. All the TV stations. I mean, come on.
So who is funding it? Maybe in the future we will have former association of TV anchors. Association of former TV anchors.
Clarification of that factor, the jury. Who do they pay?
No, because you raised the relevant question.
I think that is an oversight.
Should they even be paid? Should they even be paid? Once you finish the assignment, go and find jobs to do.
Very well said, Dr. Fati.
You become a rent collector. Collecting state resources for doing nothing. Former deputy governor. What is the meaning of that?
It is former deputy governor. Let's take this one story now.